The second part of the question around formation and change is about a second stage, a second time period, and that's what we call the Ice Age. Now, the Ice Age happened about 100,000 years ago, and if you can look at this diagram, you'll see that there's a word which says Proto-Ngaorohoi. Now, that means it's just like the early start to the volcano. Remember, after every eruption, you get a new layer added on. And so this is like the baby Ngaorohoi. And sitting on top of it is what we call ice. And we know that Ngaorohoi is quite high. And because during the Ice Age there was ice much lower down, that across the whole of the top of Ngaorohoi was an ice sheet. And like all water goes into, flows downhill. And so in between Tongariro, which is here, and Ngaorohoi, the water, the solid frozen water of Tongariro and Ngaorohoi flowed downhill and accumulated, it's a posh word, and made what we call a glacier. Now the glacier is a moving river of ice. It moves really slowly, looking at sort of 60 meters a year, but it's moving really slowly, and over time what's happening is that the ice, in that ice is like bits of tephra, bits of rock and ash that is picked up, and it drags. And if you look at this diagram here, you can see that we've got Tongariro and Ngaorohoi, and the glacier, it's picking up the rocks and it's dragging them down over the land, and the rocks are rubbing away beneath the glacier, and it's rubbing away at the bottom of that space between those two mountains. And that creates, when that ice melted, it created what we call a U-shaped valley. So where there's rubbing, where these rocks are getting rubbed like sandpaper along the bottom of the hill, along the bottom of the valley, it's called abrasion. But also the ice plucks rocks, plucks the land away, and that's called plucking. So there's two forms of erosion that the glaciers did, and that's called erosion and plucking. And it basically made what we call the Mangetepurpo Valley. Mangetepurpo Valley. And yep, that's created, and now it's all melted. It's got what we call a U-shaped valley between Ngaorohoi and Mount Ruapehu. So that was 100,000 years ago.